Needham has their own. So that's all done by the cities. The unincorporated areas of Pinellas County are the only ones directly impacted by the fluoride. I believe that it can be done or not done at injection points at the at the cities wherever they want, and let the cities handle it, or the areas where the main water enters to the unincorporated areas. As far as the land issue, I've stated in the past, I'm for the sale of it if the money is dedicated to buy other sensitive areas. They've not dedicated funds for other areas such as that 74 acres that has all kinds of wildlife, water on it, and everything else in the mouth of the Anclote River, which is so environmentally sensitive. Tarpon Springs couldn't even get a permit to put in 2 different locations to put anything there, and it also has saltwater intrusion coming into the river. So it is a very serious issue, and nobody's talking about that at that acreage at all, as well as other areas throughout the county. If the transportation passes, I will work very hard to see that the 5 most economically impacted areas of Pinellas County are handled first before we do anything stretching it out to other areas. Thank you.
I just want to elaborate a little bit on Greenlight Pinellas as far as transportation. We do have, obviously, I think everybody will agree, we have a transportation problem. We have a traffic flow problem because the timing of our traffic signalization is not working the way it should. We have a gas tax that goes towards that. I think it's important to see how those dollars are being spent so that we can streamline and make sure that the timing is improving. We have a traffic control center. One of my recommendations is that we do take a look at to make sure that that center is manned 24/7 so that when we do have accidents such we had at 19 several months ago when they had to shut it down, so that people can be aware there's alternate routes, they can adjust the timing of the traffic signals so that the traffic, you can flow so you don't sit there for hours trying to get through. It's really important that we do this part. And when we had before the board approved the referendum issue pertaining to Greenlight Pinellas, I went to an open house and I asked them very specifically, could you tell me why you do not have a specific plan so you can show the public where these dollars are going to be utilized? They said, I used the example of of Penny for Pinellas because that's how the voters approved it. We had very specific projects so you knew how those tax dollars were to be spent. Greenlight Pinellas specifically decided they did not want to use the same plan. If you look at their website, you're going to find that there have been changes, and it's difficult to see. They keep changing them to make improvements, which is fine, but you need to make sure that you can trust those decisions and how your money is being spent.
Thank you. Peter Neer again, and since Greenlight Pinellas is one of the most important issues that I feel in front of us coming in this election, I just want to make a couple of more points about it. You know, most of you know that there will be, if it passes, it goes from 7% sales tax to 8% sales tax. That is a 14% increase in taxes. As a conservative Republican, I can't understand why we would want a 14% increase in taxes. At the same time, out of the 67 counties in Florida, we would be the highest sales tax county in the entire state of Florida. That is not a distinction that I would want to have known in my county. The second thing, there was mention of an equal tax swap, and not only by a candidate or two in this particular election, but also by the brochures that you're getting from Greenlight Pinellas that this is a fair tax swap. That's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense to say that from 7% to 8%, it's going to cost on the backs of Pinellas citizens $130 million more of tax revenues that have to be borne, and say that if I give you $30 million back in ad valorem taxes and I charge you $130 million more, then that's a tax swap. That's not a tax swap. And the last important thing that not a lot of people are talking about with Greenlight Pinellas is that it's not going to be $2.2 billion. Nobody has brought up anything about eminent domain because people are not going to give up their land easily or cheaply. I live in the Tarpon, close to the Tarpon Springs area, where we had Tarpon Avenue, Keystone Road, and it took so long to do that because people did not want to give up their land, and we had to go after them with eminent domain. Eminent domain is not something that should be used to take people's property that have been in their families for many years away from them.
Very good. Absolutely.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention the fluoride. I know it's not going to be a real issue at this time, but my personal opinion is I think it should be a local decision, and that the individuals, I don't think it should be fluoride, the water should be fluoridated. Topical, there is plenty of proof that fluoride as topical treatments help and with dentists and tooth decay. So those that are at disadvantage, we should have programs to be able to provide that. But for the residents to be forced to take fluoride that they don't want it, that's not the right thing to do either. With traffic, it was brought up by Wanda. I agree with her. We have traffic control systems. We have intelligent traffic. That was part of the green light study. That through up to 2025, intelligent traffic control would accommodate, and then after that, based on the projected growth, then we would outgrow the intelligent traffic and we would have to come up with something else. But right now, we don't even have that working properly. It's not controlling it. Another situation that comes in along with that is our EMS systems, where our ambulances, those services are being there, they can't control the lights. So life-saving measures, trying to get somebody where they need to go, and we can't even have them controlling the signals because we have so many municipalities and so many, everybody controls their own service and situation there. So right now, talking about regionalism, we need to be able to control, get the cities to work together, give up some of their rights, per se, to better the transportation system and have better control just within Pinellas County before we even try to worry about, connecting with Hillsborough County or Pasco County. But we do definitely need better transportation. I think our EMS system, for money savings, there's plenty of other plans out there, but what we're paying for right now doesn't work. And I think we need to make sure that our residents are protected. We have the best EMS system or emergency response through our fire departments and then also our sheriff's office. Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to open the floor to questions from the audience, and Tony will pass around the microphone. We ask that you please address your question to one specific candidate because we are running low on time. And candidates, please, if possible, Norm, keep it to 1 minute or less. Thank you.
And I'm not timing.
This side of the room. Tony works out.
I know everybody's talking about water.
His mic's not working.
About 25, 30
Mic's
years
not
ago,
working.
National Geographic had an article saying that Florida's going to run out of water because the only way we get our water is the rain. Is there a plan in the books for down the future for when we run out of water, like use reclaimed water, salt water, or whatever?
Does that work? That's all right, look, that's all right. We're not going to run out of water. But water is neither, and let me preface this by telling you I spent 10 years studying our water and our water resources in this county, and 4 more years in geotechnical engineering, which before I got elected, which is subsurface investigation in Florida, where our water is. I know water, and I don't say it arrogantly. I know of what I'm saying. We will not run out of water. Water is neither created nor destroyed. I can throw a glass of water on the ground, and it may be foolish, but it's going to evaporate, and it goes up into the sky, and then it basically clouds and comes back in rain. It's called the hydrological cycle. Then it percolates down to the ground into the Floridan aquifer, where our water comes from the Floridan aquifer. It's the second most prolific aquifer in the entire world. There's 250 billion, with a B, gallons of water flowing through it every day. As a state, we only use 10 billion of that. There is plenty of water. We do not have a water resource availability problem in this state. We have a water resource management problem in this state. We have plenty of water. It has to be managed better. Out State Road 60 down is the Biscayne aquifer. That's an intermediate. That's where South Florida gets it. Our Floridan aquifer depths go down into almost 1,000 feet. The intermediate, the Biscayne, goes to about 300 feet. Make no mistake about this. In 50 years, the wars will not be over oil. It will be over water. And we need our water. We will not run out of water. We want all the desal plants are just a waste, in my opinion. They're great on a military ship. It works. Water, agriculture, pumps out as much water as it wants as every day, and nobody seems to be worried about that. Groundwater is for human consumption. My plan is to let the agriculture industry build all the desal plants they want and suck that water out of the Gulf and water your agriculture. In fact, it'll help with global warming and sea rise. Just do it that way. But leave the groundwater to us, the human beings. Thank you.
I have a question for Mayor Eggers. Actually, it's a two-part question. I understand that the light rail between Clearwater and St. Pete is going to be running about 25 miles an hour, and it'll have 2 or 3 stops, which in my opinion is that's going to mess up what traffic problems we have. Now, would you comment on that? And my second question is, why in the world would a mayor of a North County city be for green light Pinellas when it's not really going to do your citizens any good except slap another 1 cent sales tax on them? Can you answer that?
First of all, I have as many questions as the next person about whether rail will ever find its way in Pinellas County. And that's why I think on the back side there's some accountability things that will lead potentially to getting back to only a ½ cent sales tax for the expanded bus system. There's so many variables that have to take place for rail to become possible, possibly successful. And that includes Hillsborough County doing something, having connection, having transportation-oriented development or not, all kinds of issues that are important for the success of whether rail will ever take place. I think there were some comments mentioned about eminent domain and the cost of that. So there's a lot of issues there, and I think there's a backside to that. And as a county, as a mayor of a city of Dunedin that has benefited greatly from the connector service and from the use of the trolley system, and the people that I've talked to that want a better, more reliable bus system that comes with in 15-minute headways instead of an hour headway, one that works for people. That's why I'm at least considering it, and I don't want to go back in time. I think we need to move forward on that issue of transit. It means too much to too many people in our community. And they will be paying for it.
How do you explain
And
My question is for Commissioner Rhodes, because you're currently sitting. That's why.
Oh, no, good.
Is there anything? Yes, please. Is there anything that the county can do to help with the illegal immigrants who are using services in our county? Is there anything they're working on? I mean, I know you can't just pick on one group of people, so if they're asked to provide certain proof of something, we all would have to, but who would care? I mean, if it's going to save us a lot of money and save on perhaps crime and other issues, illnesses that are being brought in, is there anything the county can do that you know of?
It's a broad question, because we don't delineate in our social service programs, and we don't even ask for identification. It's one of the growing problems we have here in Pinellas, and it's homelessness.
Can they ask?
Yeah, we can. I'd like to, and I've talked about that, but I'm mostly outvoted. I need some help. Yes. So, but yes, and I think we should. We've got millions, north of $40 million a year going into social service programs, and there are many people who need them. It's not the issue, but we've become a destination for it, quite frankly. We've become very, very nice to it, and it's good. We seem to be in a mode of improving one's quality of poverty, opposed to improving one's quality of life, and we need to change that. We should be picking people up. I mean, I'm old school. It was a hand up, not a hand out sort of thing. We were on it. You know, I come from a family of 8, and when my mom and dad in the 70s, 80s lost their jobs, you know, the coolest thing, remember the old stores with the white box goods and the yellow box? That was the cool thing Mom and Dad took us to, and that was made it to make it enjoyable. We could pick the white box cheddar cheese, or, you know. It's part of it, and it's essential. But I don't think we're handling it properly. I don't think we have anything relative to any checks in place right now, and I could be wrong. I'll look into it, because I've heard it twice tonight deeper. I don't think we have any checks in place to check for an individual's residency or documents, if you will. I do know in our health department in St. Petersburg, there's a Greyhound bus right across the street from it, and I talk to Dr. D, and every day. They come right off the bus, walk right across the street, and get in line, and we have a policy of not even asking them who they are, where they come from, or whether they're here. That's a problem, and it's not bigoted. It's not you don't care. It's none of that. We have to make sure that these programs are effective and they're useful. If our homeless and challenges aren't going down, then either our programs aren't working or we've got a bigger problem. We should be working to get people up and out of, not just make it comfortable to stay in poverty, get out of poverty. And that's education, that's job training, it's all that. So I am supporting a very holistic approach where we're going to get all these conduits of money for ours, get all these conduits of money coming from everywhere under one accountability measure, and let's have annual reports. Let's make sure that we're actually reducing this challenge. So, big.
I have a general comment. For a year and a half, I rode the bus from down US 19 all the way to Alberton, from Alberton down to the 275 bridge. And that bus was so efficient that I could get there a minute before and know where the bus would be there when I got there. And yet there were less than 10% of the buses had anybody, not restate that. The buses were never more than 10% filled. Never, over a year and a half. Why should I spend extra money, or why should anyone pay taxes? I'm going to address this to you, Mary. Why should anyone pay any additional taxes? And it was Lloyd Benson I was talking to you about. Thank you. Okay. The rest of you don't know what that's about. But I got the same comment for you that I had for Lloyd Benson. Okay?